Guys, what's up? Darwin back here. Trying to use my social distancing time a little bit productively. So I'm out here in the garage. Sorry, it's kind of a mess, but I want to walk you through. We're building on the cart. Got some parts in, waiting on some other parts, but I'm super pumped about it. So I want to walk you through part one of this, which is the electrics. So this is all the stuff in the back that makes the cart go zoom. So I wanted to show you what I did. A lot of research went into this, but I need a lot of power out of the thing because we have to run on city streets here. So basically what we have to do is we have to have a battery pack. The battery pack has to be able to put electricity through a bunch of wires and switches and drive the motor. So when you push the pedal, you go, right? No noise. It's awesome. Anyway, I want to walk you through the parts and then we're going to do a little quick tour. So step one here, first thing you need on a cart or any type of electric vehicle is a controller. So what I used on this one is an All-Trax. They're an American company. I like buying American-made stuff. It's an All-Trax. It's for a series motor. The model is an SR48600. What that means, it's a 48 volt controller. It's capable of putting out 600 amps. That's a lot. But we need all that amperage to make this motor go zoom zoom, okay? So that's step one. That's kind of the brains of the operation behind it. So we got the controller. Then we got the motor, right? The fun part. I don't know if you can see that, but plumquick.com is a motor manufacturer. They're awesome. They're really nice guys. They're over in South Carolina, but they build custom golf cart motors. I bought the one called the Demon, which sounded cool. It's also the most powerful motor that they make in a 48 volt setup. So, you know, the cart's big, it's a 6-passenger, it's gonna tow some trailers sometimes, so I need a lot of motor. So plumquick.com, check them out, they're awesome guys. I'll put a link down in the show notes, but they're super cool. So that's the motor. The next thing you need is you need switches, right? So when you turn 600 amps off and on, you need a pretty heavy duty switch. So I needed a heavy duty contactor and also a reversing contactor. So in a golf cart or a lot of electric vehicles, you don't shift gears to go in reverse, you just switch the current, right? So DC motors, you switch the polarity, they'll run backwards. And so you need a heavy duty switch to do that because it carries all that 600 amp current. So that came from a company called buggiesunlimited.com. Really nice guys. They're over on the other side of the country. This cart's got parts from everywhere, but they're out in California. Check them out, super knowledgeable, very, very nice guys. Definitely give them your business if you can because they're a small local shop. So, sorry, I got Gidget here, she's helping out. The other thing is you have to upgrade your wiring. So whenever you're dealing with a high amperage, high voltage setup, you need to have large wires to safely carry that current, right? There's a lot of electricity we're talking about. Come here, Gidget. Sorry, Gidget's gotta come on up. So we're talking about a lot of electricity and we need to make sure that it's carried safely. So what I used on this was 2-gauge welding cable. A lot of people will use that for off the grid or a solar type setup, but we got that from Windy Nation Solar. They've got these kits where you can buy the lugs and everything else. And I've got a time lapse of making some battery cables. So then the batteries. This part was kind of crazy. I did a lot of research on batteries. I wound up going with a lithium ion setup. There's a guy here, he's local to the Phoenix metro area. It's down in Chandler. And he sells all types of EV batteries that are salvaged. So the ones that I ended up choosing were out of a Honda Clarity Hybrid. There's 4 of them. They're 48 volt packs. They come with a bunch of individual cells in there and a pretty cool setup from the factory. We'll do a little video on them here in just a second, but they come in this super tough billet aluminum housing, very safe because lithium batteries can be really dangerous if you don't manage them properly. Oh, sorry, you're not supposed to touch your face right now, my bad. And then the last part is a bunch of wiring. So we'll do a quick tour in just a second, but I had to build basically a bunch of custom wiring harnesses. I've done this on other projects and you know I keep all the supplies in the garage, so we got wire and wire loom, but we had to wire in a bunch of stuff. So anyway, that's the electric part of this thing. I'm really excited to get it finished up. I'm almost done here. We're gonna do a quick little video tour, but this is the drive system of the cart, right? So this is the batteries, the motor, and the controller, and all the wiring. And we'll get to the fun stuff later. I'm still waiting on my lift kit and my brakes to make this thing safe. But yeah, that's the electric part of it. So follow along, let's do a quick tour, and I'm gonna show you how all this is wired up and how it works. So I was up late working on this last night. It's a wiring diagram for the All-Trax controller. So I wanted to show you guys what I did, okay? So the last part, I discussed the electrics part of the cart, right? So you need battery packs, which are these guys right here. These 4 packs are out of a Honda Clarity Hybrid, Okay, so there's all our positive sides over there. There's our negative sides. You can see all of those, okay? So I've got them wired up in parallel, meaning all the positives are connected and all the negatives are connected. I did a little bit of research, and the way I've wired these things is that positive is connected to here, this one is connected to here, and then this one is connected up to here. The negative, same thing over there. The one difference is that for maximum current draw, what we're going to do is the negative lead is this one, right? So it comes off here. That's my main negative lead that comes over here and gets into the controller, okay? On the positive side, we're gonna draw from this positive, okay? So we're gonna take the negative from that cell, and we're gonna take the positive from here. Everything else is connected. So what that's gonna allow us to do is pull the most amount of current at one time, all right? So let's figure out, or excuse me, let me tell you kind of what's going on here. So out of the battery pack, the electricity is gonna come out. This is your main contactor right here. So what this is down on there, it's just a big switch. So when it gets current, it's gonna smack together and connect and allow current to flow into this main wiring harness. So I had to build this last night. There's a 2-gauge welding cable inside, and then these 3 wires right here are 48 volt that come off the positive side of the main contactor. This is a diode that allows it to open and shut safely. This is a resistor over here for the same thing. We don't want that thing arcing. So the current's gonna come out of this cable right here and go into the main body of the controller. This is the Alltrax controller. This is a SR48600. So it's a 48 volt controller that can handle up to 600 amps. Over here on this side, so this wire right here provides power to the controller logic board. This is a 48 volt input wire. These black and white wires represent the throttle, right? So these black and white wires, again, I had to build this custom harness. It's all in wire loom. We don't have them hooked up yet. They're sitting over here in the garage. But one of them goes to the, one of them goes over to the forward and reverse switch. So you've got this wiring harness, which is red, blue, and green. That's your forward and reversing switch. This one right here, red, black, and white, goes to your throttle, meaning the pedal, okay? So moving back over here, the next thing that happens is this 2-gauge cable right here. This is your reversing contactor, right? So power is gonna flow into here. From this lug right here, that wire is gonna go to the motor, and then these 2 are also going to go to the motor. So there's 4 wires in total that go over to the motor, one of which comes off of this terminal here, which we don't have wired in. This is the M negative terminal of your controller. They're just secured with a stainless steel bolt. That's a 13 millimeter to get a nice tight connection. The bottom part of this reversing contactor right here, these blue and green wires, these are to put the cart into forward or reverse by switching the polarity, right? So basically what happens is as you charge, we have a charging harness here, which I don't have hooked up. It's hanging up on the wall. But we'll charge these batteries right here. When the batteries are charged and everything's wired up, current flows through the main contactor, down here into the charge controller. The charge controller, if you're in forward, then pushes it into the reversing contactor right here. This is the SW202 kit from Buggies Unlimited. From here, the motor, which we don't have yet, it's gonna bolt up right back there whenever the Plum Quick guys get it done. But this will allow current to flow into the motor and make it go, right? So again, these are pretty simple machines. This did take a little bit of head scratching and fabrication to figure out. This is also the main fuse right here. It's super important to use fuses on DC setups. But this is a 400 amp fuse, and it's gonna come off of that battery terminal right there in order to have safe fuse power into the main contactor. But again, super happy with everything. I had to kind of get creative with my battery pack setup here and use spacers and all that kind of stuff, but really excited about it. Got the cart mostly cleaned up. Got some blue paint on here, as you can see. Gonna go for like a rat rod royal blue type color and make this thing happen. So again, as soon as the motor gets here, we're almost ready to get it fired up, take it for a test drive before we put the body parts back on. So stay tuned. Gidget, you got anything to say? All right, guys, so all the electric wiring is done. Gidget's here, she's very happy about it, just sitting on my lap. So we have the last little bit of everything knocked out. So we've got these wires coming off the solenoid here. You actually power the control board off of the main contactor. So I had to get all this buttoned up. I like my wiring nice and clean, so we've got everything in wire loom, ends, electrical tapes, you know, all hunky-dory. We've got our black and white wires down here for the throttle. We've got all that squared away. So it is ready to go. We have to tie these two wiring harnesses here, which I built. Again, you saw them earlier. So black, white, red is for the throttle. And then this one is for the forward and reverse switch. So back in the day, you used to have these big rotary switches that kind of went clunk to do that. Now it's all remote controlled, so it's here. The reason I set this thing up this way is that these big high amperage wires, I didn't want to run them under the cart. So you can see, again, there's parts and junk scattered everywhere, but they used to run up in here. That's the battery charger. So that used to be where the controller is, but you had to run these big high amperage wires up under the frame. And I don't like that. You know, those things get compromised. If you run over something and the insulation gets pierced or whatever, it can get really bad. So we kept everything nice and compartmentalized here in the back. So the last thing we have to do, again, is pull our power wire, and then we have to get all of the welding cables to go from here to the motor. But we gotta wait till that gets in. So anyway, that's all buttoned up. Super happy about it. Now we're gonna take a break and wait for the motor to get here. Should be this week. All right, guys, so this is the next system that we have to work on the cart. This is the 12-volt electrics. So these batteries here are 48 volt. This widget right here is a DC to DC converter. So you can see on the spec plate right here, DC-DC power converter. What it does is it's gonna take anywhere from 36 to 48 volt input, about 3 to 5 amps worth of current. And it's hard to see here because the writing's a little faded. There it is. So you'll put out up to 30 amps, right? Sorry about the background noise here. I live on kind of a major street. But it's gonna give us 12 volts coming out and about 30 amps worth of power. So what that does, we've got this hooked up, our yellow and red wires. This is a distribution block right here. So this has got different types of fused circuits, and this is for all the 12 volt electrics. So we still have to hook up, these are our inputs. I gotta build a little wiring harness to come off the batteries right there. We're gonna input 12 volts. What this thing is gonna do is power all the 12 volt systems. So that means brake lights, tail lights, turn signals, horn. Gotta put some music on this thing because, you know, it's awesome. And then I'm also gonna put a light bar and a couple of other accessory lights on it just so people can see me real well going down the road because I don't wanna get hit. But yeah, this is the next part of the system, so stay tuned and we'll get this here built and then make sure all the signals and everything are working. Here's the wiring harness for that. This is your brake light turn signal. Again, we've got this one over here on the back corner and then some up in the electrics. So got the cart all jacked up right now, so we've got to crawl under it and get these wiring harnesses built. But yeah, this is the heart of the 12 volt system. So we have two different electrical systems running. One's 48 volt, that's the drive system. 12 volt is the auxiliary system.